Welcome back to part 3 of our interview with Chris Voss, where he asks, how do I say no to a kidnapper? Chris will answer that question and give you the number 1 way to say no. Stick around because part 3 is coming up.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. I know you have an event coming up, a one-day event where you sit down with executives and you give them all the kind of the inside scoops on negotiations. What are some of the things that you're going to cover in that event?
Well, we're going to cover from several different approaches. We will always bring forward new stuff that we're learning that we're not sharing with anybody else. There's going to be, I got a new cold calling strategy that has got nearly a 90% success rate.
But Chris, I have to ask, what would happen if we shared some of those here today?
Then it would be worth. Then no one would come to the event.
So I'm not going to win the negotiation with the negotiating guru, am I?
Well, that's a nice try. We're going to continue the conversation.
I'm practicing. All right, go ahead.
But we're going to share some stuff on cold call strategies that I literally just ran across last week. Because the cool thing about having so many people learning about it is, somebody who's come up with a new combination and just hit it out of the park. They're going to call me, they're going to email me, they're going to get me off to the side, and they're going to say, I'm doing this and this is what's happening. And I said, you just solved a problem that thousands of other people are looking for, and I'm going to share that in our next seminar. So we'll be talking about some of the cold calling, some of the most recent coaching. My son Brandon Voss, who's the director of operations, he's actually a much better coach than I am. I'm kind of the speaker, and when it gets down to nitty gritty coaching, Brandon is a star. Brandon's actually inventing new negotiation stuff pretty much monthly, and so he'll walk through some of the coaching successes and victories that he's achieved. And there's actually 4 of us that speak. We still collaborate with Todd Camp from the Jim Camp Group. His dad wrote Start With No. And then I got another superstar, Derek Gaunt, who's a hostage negotiator from the Washington, D.C. area. Derek's our best instructor, which annoys the hell out of me because I actually think I'm our best instructor. But people always like Derek more. And so we put Derek up in front of people, and he's got a really compelling way of dialing in with a lot of people and helping them get new ideas also.
Great. When is that event, by the way?
The next one, New York City, October 27th.
October 27th. Awesome. I will check out my calendar. I'd love to be there. It sounds amazing.
It'll be cool. It'll be fun. We have a good time. We have a lot of fun, and the day just blows by.
Well, and it was very reasonable. What was it, like 600? There was a pre-advance number on it. But, here's the way I always look at things. If I walk away with one idea that I can apply to my business, is it worth the investment?
Yeah, you should make it back that week, right?
You better. Or we've got some other things to talk about. You're not in a business that has big enough margins or tickets.
Right.
Well, don't get me started on that. I'm the profitability guy. I could talk all day about that. Let's switch over. And you wrote an amazing book, Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as If Your Life Depended on It. Tell us some of the takeaways from the book.
Well, and I'll give a shout out to my co-author, Tal Roz, on that also, because of our collaboration, I think this is an amazing book. I think this book is awesome. And Tal made it that way. Tal was actually the co-author of one of the best networking books ever written. And that's the reason, and the name of that book is Never Eat Alone. And I read that book, and I was knocked out at how digestible it was. And it was actually an enjoyable read. Like a lot of business books are like reading the encyclopedia. It's full of good information, but it's a cure for insomnia trying to get through it.
Right.
And Tal, read anything Tal Roz has written. He's that good of a writer. And he put together a book for us that's really digestible, and it's fun to read. And, it starts out with, I told Tall this story. He says, that's going to be our opening story of how we're going to start the book. The number one way to say no is, how am I supposed to do that? And it was our most powerful technique in kidnapping. And I used it in a negotiation with the head of the program on negotiation at Harvard Law School. So that's the way the book starts out. It's a lot of fun. If you read the first 5 pages of the book, you're going to want to read the book.
Love it. So how am I supposed to do that?
Yeah, that's nuts. That is such a powerful way to say no to people and also keep them in the conversation. Because we had to learn how to say no to kidnappers and keep them in the conversation. How do you say no to a kidnapper? You say, how am I supposed to do that? You say to a guy, how do I know the hostage is alive? And how am I supposed to pay you if I don't know they're alive?
Interesting. And continue to get them talking, because the more they're talking, the more you're learning.
And the more they feel in control. The secret to getting the upper hand in a negotiation is giving the other side the illusion of control. And that how question typically does that. It makes the other person feel in control.
The how question does that?
Yeah. How am I supposed to do that? People love to be asked how. It makes you feel good if I ask you how to do something. It makes you feel superior. It's the opposite of being judgmental. I'm boosting you up by asking you that question. I'm putting you in charge. And people love that.
Interesting. So how do you do that in the boardroom?
Well, deference is power. So you ask it in a deferential way. How am I supposed to do that? And it triggers what Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner on behavioral economics, wrote the book Thinking Fast and Slow. Slow thinking being in-depth thinking. With the phrase, if somebody asks you a question, they stop me dead in my tracks. They triggered in-depth thinking. And so the how question triggers this stop you in your tracks thinking. It stops a charging bull. How am I supposed to do that? And they stop and think. And even after they stop and think, if they come back at you and say, because you have to, you've made them stop and think, which then has completely changed the momentum of the entire conversation. You've taken over the momentum. They don't know it because you triggered in-depth thinking with them. They've completely unaware of the fact that you just probably turned the conversation 90 degrees.
And I'm sure you may actually end up with some ideas that actually are suitable to you.
9 times out of 10 you do. And that's a pretty good percentage.
I'll take 9 times out of 10 any day. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, some people, it's crazy. When you teach a new skill, and somebody says, oh, I can see that going bad, maybe 1 time in 10, so I'm not going to do it. Like, what's your batting average here? If you had something that had a 90% success rate, a gambling system, and you went to Vegas, pretty soon Steve Wynn would be working for you. So, a new skill, you're looking for better than 50% average in order to do well. And actually, the failure rates are so high in business. If you get something that works 30 to 40% of the time, you're probably a very wealthy person.
Absolutely. I mean, how'd you like to close 30 or 40% of all your prospects?
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty good.
You'd have your feet up in the Bahamas.
Now I'd just be working harder. This is like pretty cool. How do I get it to 42%?
Yeah, there you go, right? Because you enjoy what you do.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I absolutely enjoy what I do, and I just love seeing how my clients benefit, as I'm sure you do as well. So how, you gave kind of a background of that, how make the other person feel good. What about some of the other words that are the question drivers, the what, the where? Do any of those have kind of something similar behind them, or it's just the how, like that's the gem?
Well, I'll caution people about why. Why makes people feel accused? Why creates defensiveness? People are asking why all the time because they need to know why, and they're actually killing their relationships by doing that. Now, there's a certain limited usage of why, that being said, and for the longest time, we taught everybody that we gave training to never ask why. because why makes people feel accused. And that's a universal reaction. One of the advantages I have as a hostage negotiator, I mean, I've literally had the opportunity to do some kind of a negotiation in every culture on the planet. And universally, everybody in the world, it doesn't matter whether you're Asian, whether you're African, whether you're Arab, when people are asked why, it makes them mad. They feel accused, they react defensively, it bothers them. So the first move there is to change all your whys to what. Instead of why did you do that, or why would you make that choice, you just say, what makes that a good choice? What made you do that? It immediately takes a sting off of why, and people will actually answer, because you do need to know why. Now here's the nuance, and we call it proof of life in a deal. Because in every business negotiation, every interaction, there are two players that you are either the fool or the favorite in the deal. Either you're the favorite for the deal or you're the fool, which means if you're the fool, it means either you're not going to get the deal or there was never any deal. A lot of people get business proposals just because they're trying to improve their own internal operations. They have no intention of making a deal. They're pumping you for information. So we call that, you got to have proof of life. You have to have proof of life for the deal, and you have to have proof of life that you're not the fool in the game, that you're the favorite. And you do that by asking the why question, because if why triggers defensiveness, then what you do is you say, why would you ever do business with us? You know, you got a great relationship with a vendor you've been working with for a really long time. They've got a great reputation in the industry. Why would you ever move away from those people, and why would you do business with us? That triggers them into defending that there's a deal there and that they'll do it with you. Well, you know, you guys have interesting ideas. You know, they're going to make your sales pitch for you when you use why in that regard.
Love it. Love it. Interesting. As you're sitting here talking, I'm like, this is really interesting. I think when I'm done with this interview, I got a few emails to send out using some different language than I had been using in the past. So thank you very much for that.
Excellent. Happy to hear it.
We are running out of time, and I want to hear how the audience can get a hold of you. But I got one more question for you. Is there any other mistakes or things that you see on a consistent basis that happens in the boardroom that you just kind of want to shake your head and go, why do people keep doing that? That's just not a good idea. And the amount of money and the lost revenue for their firms is just massive. What's the big mistakes that are happening?
You know, people are scared to summarize what the other side is saying. It happens particularly at the end of meetings. And it's just, all right, let me go back over this. I want to summarize where we are. You know, I don't know if people are afraid of looking stupid, as if they weren't paying attention. It's one of those crazy things, because when someone says to me, all right, let me summarize what's important to you here, I feel really good about that.
Yes.
I mean, I love it. And plus, it's a great way to end a meeting. But I see people on the other side of that going like, I don't want people to think I wasn't listening, or I'm going to look stupid in case I make a mistake, you know, and what I say is, all right, so if you're afraid that your summary would be wrong, that means you're going to walk out of here. You're willing to walk out with a flawed summary as opposed to fixing it before you leave the room.
And that last impression.
Leaving the other side the impression that they were really listened to. Yeah, it's huge. Great
advice. Well, tell the audience how they can get a hold of you.
All right. Well, I love that you mentioned a newsletter earlier, because that is really the gateway to everything that we do. So the newsletter is the edge, and if you the simplest way to sign up is to send a text to the number 22828, and that's 22828, and send all one word, FBI empathy. Don't let your spell check put a space between FBI and empathy. And upper or lowercase doesn't matter. Just FBI empathy, no space in between there, no punctuation, to 22828. And you can sign up for the newsletter, and it tells you about when we're doing training, where we're doing training, different negotiation products we have, and it'll take you directly to our website, and which is blackswanltd.com. But the newsletter goes straight into that, and it's the gateway to everything that we're doing.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for joining us today. I absolutely love the fact that, this is just idea after idea, executionable idea. Is that a word, executionable? An idea that you can execute on. So thank you.
It works for me.
It works for me too, exactly. Something that you can execute on. So thank you very much for being with us here today. And I don't say this lightly, but I guarantee you that my results going forward, knowing some of these ideas on this language, is going to produce bottom line results for my business. So from me, thank you.
Thank you, Thor. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.